Okay, so for this part, I'm going to show you how to draw a macaw parrot. And what I like to do is I just took a how to draw book and photocopied, what the parrot's supposed to look like. And this breaks it down step by step. So here's kind of like what it will look like at the end. I typically do this on gray paper with my 7th graders, and then I do it on gray paper so that we can color it with chalk pastel and really make those colors pop. But today, because I'm drawing it with the projector and I'm just showing you how to draw it, I'll be using it with white paper. So since the macaw is taller than it is wide, want to make sure, we can get the majority of it on our paper. So we want to make sure our paper is going the right direction. So you want your paper to be going what we call portrait style, which means it's taller than it is wide. So make sure that your paper is going the right direction. And then basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to follow this step-by-step guide and start to create that parrot. And kind of like what it says up here, always draw lightly. You can always go back in and darken those things that you really like and that really turned out well. But if you draw really dark, it's hard to erase it. So just make sure that when you're drawing these, you're drawing them lightly on there so it's a little bit easier to erase. I'll be drawing dark on mine just so it will show up on the projector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start here with the beak, and basically they have like the top part of their beak and the bottom. And I am going to start with the beak. I don't want to do it all the way up here at the top because I have to have room for the head from where the head is attached. So I'm going to drop it down a couple inches from the top of my paper, and I'm going to work towards the right side of my paper. And the top part of their beak, it starts off with a kind of like a diagonal straight line that kind of starts near the middle of the page here and kind of goes up towards that top right corner. And then the top part of their beak is bigger than the bottom part. So, and it's a little bit like a triangle. And as we're just going to curve this down because their beak is rounded, and then I'm going to go back to the line that I drew, and then I'm going to curve it to kind of make that into a point. So there's where we have our triangle shape for the top of the beak. And this is just one part of their beak. They actually have a bottom part of their beak as well. So to create that, where we started to draw that diagonal line for that top part, we're just going to draw kind of a straight vertical line, one that goes up and down. And then we're going to curve this up into that top beak. This section of the beak is not as big as this one, so I don't want to make it go all the way down. I only want to make it go part way. The next part that we're going to draw is, if you look at pictures of parrots or macaws, they have this little area on their face that is a different color and a different texture than the feathers and stuff that they have in their head. So the next thing that we're going to draw is like this little white patch that they have. And then there's also kind of aligned with their eyeball as well. So I'm going to start up near that top part of the top beak. I'm just going to start to draw this line going back. I want to draw this one a little bit lighter just because I know I need to put the eyeball there. I'm going to have to erase it a little bit later. And then this little white patch comes down and we're going to curve it, and it's going to go down towards the bottom part of the beak. And then their eyeball is actually going to be right in through here. So it's going to be back behind the beak. It's going to be about right here. And it's basically just a circle. And then for their pupil, or the black part, it's going to be a smaller circle inside. So they have a pretty simple eye right there. And then you can go back in and, erase where that part is kind of came into the eyeball. Hopefully you drew it light, so it's easier to erase. So we've got pretty well the face drawn. Now what's going to happen is we're going to draw like the top part of the head And then if you go back to, the colored drawing that I have, you'll notice there's almost like a mohawk of feathers that happen here. So it's almost like a zigzag or like a lightning bolt effect. So we're going to go where the beak is, draw a curved line that goes up, and then there's like a zigzag part to it. So to draw that, we go back to our drawing here, about where that white patch on the face and the top beak meet. We're going to start to draw a curved line going up, and this is going to be for the top of their head. And then we're going to just take that curve, go past the eyeball and the white patch in their face. Then as we get to this part back here, we're going to start to kind of zigzag it and create those head feathers going down. So I'm just going to start to draw this zigzag going down. And since these are feathers, you can kind of curve it a little bit. And we're going to take that zigzag about in line with the end of that white patch on their face. So it's coming down maybe about a ½ inch below it. But I don't want to take it down all the way at the page. I kind of want to stop it before. And I liked how those turned out, so I'm just going to go back in and kind of darken them in a little bit. Okay. Now, the next part that we have to draw is basically what's going to be their shoulder area. And this is where their wing is going to be because we're looking at them from the side. So we're going to start to draw like an egg shape that's kind of tilted, going at an angle to create their shoulder and their wing. So if we go back to my colored drawing here, that's this shape right here, and you can see like there's layers of feathers. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 layers of feathers, and then like these purple feathers here are part of the tail. But I'm looking at this rounded oval shape happening right here. So to draw that, remember, not just going to draw it straight up and down. We want to do it at an angle. So what's going to happen is here, and this is going to be kind of drawn over as we do the layers of feathers. So this might be a good idea to draw this lightly. And it's just an egg shape. It's an oval, a long oval. And I'm going to just draw my oval shape. And as you can see, I'm drawing it lighter than what I did the rest of this. And it still looks like it's showing up on the projector. So we're doing good with that. And then we're just going to connect it with a curved line, almost like a C shape for their neck. Because if we don't draw that line, then this is just going to look like it's floating. And that's not what we want. Now, when I teach this project, I teach it so I can show you the different values and using analogous colors to show the shading. So when we draw the rows of feathers for the wings, I need you to have at least 5. 1 for the red, 2 for the orange, 3 is yellow, 4 is green, and 5 is blue. So, and basically, they're just kind of like long U shapes or like W's, kind of side by side. So I'm going to start up here near where the mohawk feathers are, and they kind of meet that shoulder. And I'm just going to create this curve. It's going to go up towards my shoulder, not all the way. This is going to be my first row of feathers. And remember, we need to get 5 rows total. So you don't want to make these too big. But these are out of all the wing feathers, like the longer ones. Then as I get closer to that edge of my egg shape or my oval, I'm just going to darken in that section. Okay, so there's 1 row of feathers. This would be the red row. And I need to do at least 4 more. And because these ones are going to overlap the ones beneath it, I won't have to make the second batch as big. I'm still going to start along the oval shape. And I'm going to kind of take these where they come up near the middle of that first row. Middle of those U shapes or those curves of those W's, however you want to look at it. And this is going to be for my orange. So this is row 2. And I'm just kind of following along doing those U's or those W shapes, whatever helps you to be able to see it better. Okay, and then I'm running out of room here, so I'm just going to kind of make a smaller one there. So I went outside my oval a little bit, which is fine. Because I drew it so lightly, I can even just go back in and kind of erase it and fine tune it. So there's my red row, my orange row. I still got to do 3 more. So for my yellow, it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to start up here near that curve. And I'm going to make it come up through the middle of that last row. I'm just going to keep continuing it, going across. A lot of repetition for this part. Should be pretty good drawing feathers by the time we get to the end. So this is going to be for my yellow row, or my 3rd row. So I got to do 2 more. Okay, so I've got for my red, my orange, my yellow. Got to make for my green. Again, start at that edge, and it's okay if you go outside of your egg shape or that oval shape that we did for the wings. That's why we drew it lightly. Just kind of like a guideline to help us place things for the body of our parrot. And that's what we want to do when we're doing, line drawings and stuff like that. Like, draw lightly. You can see I'm going back over and making my feathers kind of dark, stuff like that. I've got them drawn where I want them. So it's okay to go back in and kind of darken them in. But my oval shape is still, I'm going to have to go back in and erase some parts of that. So I've got for my red, orange, yellow, green. The last one here is for my blue. Okay, again, doing those U shapes. They're the last row there, my blue row is going to come up in the middle of the row before it, or what would be my green row. If you have a lot of room left over, you're welcome to add more feathers. Just keep it in that oval shape, but you have to have at least 5 rows so that I can talk to you when we go to color it about, the coloring section and how to do the shading for each of those. So this part here, the wing, the shoulder part is pretty well done. So I can go back in and kind of fine tune things, erase that part of my oval that I no longer need. Okay, it's a good thing we drew those lightly, so it makes it easier. Just kind of, clean things up. The next step that we're going to draw is the tail piece. And basically that's this purple section of the parrot. So like when you have the parts of the wings, all the different colors, this section of the tail, they're just long feathers. Long kind of skinny feathers that make up the tail. So to kind of help us out, we're going to draw like part of a rectangle kind of coming off of our wing shape. Then we're going to draw another rectangle out and kind of divide those up into the other part of their tail feathers. So if this would be my blue row, again, I'm just going to kind of draw a line that goes out, a line that comes out here. Then I'm going to connect them. This is going to be like that part of the rectangle. And I'm going to start to divide these up into long, skinny feathers. And take that back up to the row of feathers up there in that shoulder. So continue doing that, and then I'll have another video that will show you how to do the rest of your bird.